Hey guys, this video I want to talk about infinity, and more specifically I want to talk about why I don't believe that matter has always existed. I've been doing some thinking about this. I've seen some videos on it and done a little bit of research. Not an expert, but just want to give my thoughts on this. So the two possibilities supposedly for the existence of the universe and the existence of all physical matter. One, the possibility that was believed long ago, not so much anymore, that matter has always existed, that the universe has always existed. And a second option, which is more believed today, that it had a beginning. That's where you get the Big Bang Theory from, that it had a beginning. So my video, I want to talk about why I want to rule out the first one completely, because I still feel like some people want to hold to that, and I just don't see how that can be logical, that the universe has always existed. And I want to try to put it into words that make sense. So my thinking, first of all, has always been nothing can be eternal into the past. Nothing that we know could have always existed. That doesn't make any sense. But then you got people asking me this question about God, because that is one of the aspects of God, that He is eternal. So, and I've always responded to that in a way which I still believe in, that because God is not natural, because He is not material, because He's outside of the universe, He's transcendent, He's supernatural by definition, that it's not the same thing, and you can't hold the same kind of logic to it. We don't understand spiritual things. So anyways, I'm just going to talk about natural things for this video. The reason why I believe now even more in depth than I did before why the universe couldn't have always existed is because of a few reasons that I'm going to explain about infinity. What is infinity? What is an infinite amount of time, or an infinite distance? Infinity, an infinite amount of time or distance, is not a finite number like a billion is or a quadrillion is. It's not, when you're talking about traveling to, or time passing by to get to a certain point, infinity is never reachable. You can never reach it. So if you exist now and you're talking about running a race that's infinity miles long or infinity inches long, doesn't matter. It's the same distance. It's not a finite point, and you'll never be able to reach it, whether it's infinity inches or infinity miles. You'll be running for an infinity amount of time. You'll never reach it. So infinity is not really a number at all. I mean, people think of it maybe sometimes as a really big number. It's not. It's not even a number. It's an idea that means it never ends. So if you cannot travel an infinite time into the future, or actually a better example in my opinion would be, if you cannot travel an infinite distance, theoretically, if there was such a length of, it gets complicated, but anyways, if you cannot travel an infinite length of distance into the future, then if you have an infinite past, you could never get to this point in time now, because you cannot get to that point in the past. If there's no beginning, there's no now. You cannot have an infinite past, because an infinite past means that there's a series of events going on for infinity. If you could rewind time somehow, if somebody videotaped it, you could rewind it forever. You would never get to the beginning. That's not logical. There would be no now if there's an infinite past. So it's illogical. If you cannot get to an infinite point in the future, then there cannot be an infinite point in the past, because infinity is not a point. It's an idea of never ending. So the other thing that I want to talk about this is maybe a better picture of this. I thought about this today, and it made a lot of sense to me. Suppose there's a particle. Well, there is a particle, here or here, wherever you're talking about. There's always a particle somewhere, whatever kind of atom it is or molecule. But let's just say this particle right here. This particle has moved from one point to the other since the beginning of matter. Okay? Because matter cannot be destroyed completely. You can blow something up, but the fundamental material that it's made out of still exists. You cannot completely destroy particles. You cannot obliterate them from existence. There's always something there that is made up of it that's left. So this particle has always existed. We're just pretending that I'm holding a particle, which I'm holding many particles. But anyways, this particle has always existed. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, to make it easier to explain and comprehend, that it's been moving, but it's been moving in a straight line. And it's been moving from this direction, and it's been moving this direction since the beginning of matter and the beginning of time. If the universe had an infinite regress of events, which really what time is, it's a progression of events. If there's nothing moving, there's no time. Even if you could imagine a dark universe with no material, but a mind, like your mind that you're imagining, if you're in a universe with no material and it's darkness, your mind is still moving, so there's time. But if there's no mind, if there's nothing, absolute nothing, there can't be any time. So time is movement. So if this particle has been moving from this direction to this direction, you got to rewind time back that way. Okay? So 5 minutes ago maybe it was here. 10 minutes ago it was here, whatever. Keep going, a million years ago, a billion years ago. You're just going to keep getting farther and farther that way. But if you have an infinite past, then that particle is an infinite amount that way, which isn't really an amount, but just bear with me. It's an infinite amount of distance, or an infinite amount of miles that way. Now you play time. How could it ever get to this point right now? Because you can't cross infinity. You can't go an infinite number of miles or an infinite number of inches. Infinity is not a point in time. It's an idea to say that it never ends. But then, on the flip side of that, when you say infinity into the future, it means it never ends. Infinity into the past means it never begins. And if something never begins, then there is no thing. So that's made a lot of sense to me, and that's why I really believe that there's no logical sense behind saying that the universe and matter has always existed. And I think even science nowadays, with the expansion of the universe and the second law of thermodynamics, that there is a lot of evidence saying that the universe did have a beginning. Second law of thermodynamics, real quick: the universe is running out of energy, heat, and light. And I'm not an expert. I read stuff. So if it's running out of energy, if it had existed for an eternity in the past, it would have ran out of energy by now. But even that is silly, because an infinite time into the past is not a finite point anyway. So the point is if it was that long ago, if we think of infinity as a really, really big number, it would have ran out of energy by now. So to wrap it up, infinity is not a real number. It's not a number at all. It's a concept. It's an idea of a never-ending thing. And the last thing I want to reiterate is that an infinite of events into the future is maybe never-ending, but an infinite number of events into the past is never beginning. And if there's no beginning, then there's no now. There's no existence. If nothing begins, then nothing exists. So that's my idea on it, guys. Hope you liked the video. Thanks.